The top 5 reasons why men disappear. Do you ever ask yourself, why does my man pull away? In this training, you will discover what are some of the motivations that make a man pull away, even though you may not even know about that. That helps you to actually re-magnetize and attract him back to you so you can continue to feel cherished, supported, and taken care of. I'm Antia Boyd with Magnetize You Man, and together with my husband Brody Boyd, we've been helping thousands of successful women all over the world to get the loving, committed, and long-term relationship they desire fast. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, the first top reason why he disappears is because he is afraid of conflict. So oftentimes we women take it personal and we think that he actually doesn't like you anymore or you did something massively wrong. But sometimes it's actually about him and his upbringing. You see, if you grew up in an environment where, you weren't really talking about conflict. You grew up in a conflict avoided environment where everything was shoved under the carpet and then later on bad mouthing about family members separately while driving in a car or somewhere else, then when you counter something that's uncomfortable or something where you want to set a boundary and you don't feel you're not being like honored or respected or there was just a miscommunication, you're less likely to actually lean into that conflict. Now, part of the reason is because you don't know why, and you also don't know how, right? So you don't see the motivation. Why? Because you've been doing this your whole life. I mean, even if it's completely dysfunctional, you still, you just keep doing what you keep doing, and you think that's how the world rolls. Now, the other thing is also that this particular man can then think, what's the point? Because they've never been validated for their emotions or have even like discovered what their emotions are. So sometimes it's not about you. Now, the next top reason why he may disappear is because he's confused. Now, this is a little bit different because when I say confused, I really mean he has a past conflict inside of himself. So, in other words, there's a part inside of him that really wants to have the deep, connected, long term relationship, right? Like, of course, he wants to be your king. He's looking forward to the vacation with you. He's looking forward to introducing to his friends and family. However, the other part is terribly, terribly scared, has a lot of panic inside of his nervous system of intimacy. And that is, of course, partially also comes back to mostly his upbringing, right? Of course, he can also have had a traumatic experience in his relationships in the past, like maybe like a psychotic ex-girlfriend or like just something that was really abusive, right? Where he was going to go into protection mechanism and guarding himself. However, usually it really is rooted in a childhood where intimacy wasn't safe, right? Like either they were belittled or they didn't get their needs met or they were just told that, just suck it up and you just gotta keep going. Sometimes they also lost a parent early on in life for different reasons. Alcoholism is one, mental disorder is another. So there's many different reasons why that could be, but that leads to the parts conflict, right? So of course you want to ask me, now Atya, what can I do about when he has this parts conflict? And what I always say is in order for someone to see the parts conflict inside of themselves, the best thing is when a woman, well, I'm talking to you right now, right? So that's why otherwise I would say the men if I would talk to the men. But when the woman actually like sees, okay, what's the conflict inside of myself? Because you see, what I've seen with thousands of women that have come to me over the years is that they also come from either emotionally unavailable background or a narcissistic background, borderline personality, alcoholism. I mean, I've heard it all. You name it, I've heard it. And it's so sad. And by the way, if you had this kind of childhood, my heart goes out to you. And you may have like got almost like a crust, right, around like protecting yourself, guarding yourself, like being numbing yourself because you don't even want to go there feeling that powerless and helpless again. Now, what happens in that moment though is that when you start dating a man, there's actually a part inside of you that makes sure that you have the back door open. And I mean, I've seen this with lots of women that have come to me, including my own, and I was like, it was even like my way I was showing up, like just the way I was guarded, the way I was speaking, my body language, how my voice was sounding. It's so interesting in which ways the guardedness can show up. Like also you could laugh at something it's not funny, like dismiss the seriousness of the emotion and so on, right? And then you attract a man into your life who also in some way, shape or form is conflicted inside of himself. Now guess what? The more you clean up your emotional, conflict inside of yourself, the more he will see that and he feels safe and he'll trust. So those are the two words, safety and trust. And then he will want to be like, hey, you've been so authentically communicating about your emotions, but really from a place of alignment, like what would that potentially look like for me? And I've seen this lots of times. So this can definitely turn around when you shift your conflict inside of yourself. Now the next top reason why men disappear is because he has an avoidant attachment style. Now, just really quickly, I studied attachment style at UC Berkeley, and there's three main attachment styles. So one is the avoidant. Now, most women that come to me attract men who have an avoidant attachment style. How do you know that he's avoidant? Is because there's inconsistent communication. You sort of have this hot or cold feeling, right? Like he promises you, like, you know what, I'm so excited to meet you, and you always wanted, never expected miracle, and it always feels like love bombing. You always feel like you're dealing potentially with a narcissist, right? And but then it tapers off. Like he doesn't stay consistent with it. So there's a little bit of a bigger promise. There's like sort of this idealizing in the very beginning of the relationship, right? So a secure partner is never idealizing the other person because he knows that we all have faults, so we have all shortcomings, we have all flaws, we have all childhood wounds, and so on. And he's not afraid of that because he learned in his childhood that it's safe to express that. However, if somebody has an avoided attachment style, like they actually learned that it's not safe to express your emotions. And as a matter of fact, the closer you get to intimacy and closeness, or more the hope of it, the more you get disappointed and end up in this deep feeling of despair. So because of that, the more he gets closer to intimacy, the avoidant attachment style, the more he actually feels panic inside of his nervous system. Now, you're also asking yourself, like, okay, well, what can I do about that, right? And that's going to be a little tougher because that would take a lot of patience. And what I see, unfortunately, is if you didn't get all your needs met, if you were bringing up all the patience and all the compassion and all the understanding, at some point something has to give, right? Like I can't just do this for him. He also has to do something for me. And look, when women come to me after being married for 10 years, 20 years, sometimes, and then having filed for divorce, eventually it's because they realize that. They realize, look, you know what I mean? And there was never somebody coming back to me and asking me how I feel and if they can make me dinner and if they can provide for me. But it was always like I had to put out all the fires. The next top reason why he disappears is because he's more interested and invested in someone else. And I know this may be your worst nightmare, but believe me, if he's looking for someone else, like there's something better for you. You would never want to be with a man who doesn't really want you and who's actually already had one foot out the door and was just looking for another opportunity. Yes, it's true. There are men out there who are just keeping you warm, keeping you on the back burner until they find another woman that they're more attracted to and see themselves in a long-term relationship with. Now, this could be like many different reasons, right? It could be that you're not his type, it could be also, unfortunately, that he is selfish and he's exploiting you for his own reasons, whether it's emotionally or whether it's sexually as well, right? Or whether it's mentally, that he loves to talk about himself and you listen all the time. And you may wonder here, you may be sitting here, look, I get a girlfriend. You're like, look, I've given, like, I was the one who spent 5 hours on the phone with him, and I listened to him when the grandma died, and I did this, and all the things. Look, what I always say is the quality of men that you're attracted to your life is directly proportional to the relationship you have to yourself. Not what you do for another man, but what you do for yourself. So that you have to abandon yourself, that you have to leave yourself, that you have to, potentially even like betray yourself in order to be there for the man. And of course, that doesn't work, right? Because then you are consciously teaching him that you will move yourself more from yourself. You're moving your attention away from you. And I guess what? Unfortunately, because the nervous system learns through the other nervous system, monkey see, monkey do, that he will also remove himself from you. I know this is crazy how this works, but of course the answer lies already in what I described to you, which is learning to focus on yourself. Right now, this also only works with a man who's really interested in you. That was really just that was the reason. If there's really truly interested in another woman, if you're simply not his type, look, I was dating this one guy. They ended up getting married to an Asian woman. Look, I was never his type. You know what I mean? Like, so there's nothing you could do. You could stand on your head. You know what I mean? Or do whatever you want to do, and triple monkey flip and do all the tricks. If you're not his type, you're not his type. You know what I mean? And honestly, I mean, I would rather be with a man whose type I am, and that he fully desires me. Because you know what? When a woman can tell that she's not being cherished, she withers away, right? Because she can tell that the man is like looking in other directions. Even though he might not be completely cheating, but he's not like admiring you and cherishing you the way you deserve it. Now, the next top reason why he disappears is because you did give him what he wanted. And of course, the first thing that comes to mind for you is sex. And yes, that could certainly be true, that you were potentially setting boundaries around not wanting to be intimate so fast. And good for you, girlfriend. High five for that, for standing up for yourself and being true to yourself, because the right man will respect that. Look, I've heard from so many women that they're surprised themselves how willing they were to wait, even though they weren't waiting before, because they really admired that sense of self-respect that comes from a queen place that a woman had when she set those boundaries. Now, this may not be the only one, though. It may also be that you have dealt with a narcissist. Now, a narcissist is looking for the perfect, quote-unquote, victim. Now, what's a perfect victim is someone who focuses on someone else, right? Who, is easily manipulable, you could guilt trip. So if he noticed in the first couple dates that you're like, you know what I mean, you are challenging him and you're not, you're not letting him guilt trip you and all of that, he may be like, you know what, this is like too much work. Because remember, the narcissist is nothing without a host. So the host is giving the narcissist all the energy. So it like the narcissist will literally be drained if you're not other focused all the time. If you're like also talking about yourself and how wonderful your day was, you know what I mean, and things like that, and don't say anything when he doesn't ask you any questions, so you don't ask him necessarily any questions. So it could be that he disappears, right? And this is actually for the perfect reasons. You want him to disappear if this is a toxic individual. Now, another reason why that may be is because he has a need for a certain codependency and toxicity that may not be necessarily a narcissist, but maybe this particular man comes from a codependent background and he wants to have somebody who's like just really hard and challenging and bitchy and all these things, right? And I'm not saying that it's healthy, and I'm not even saying that you should do that or you should be that, right? But that's again really showing that he's like, you actually attracted the wrong man into your life. So then I would go back to the drawing board and say, you know what I mean, like what's on the inside of you? Like I always believe like we are magnets to what we attract. What is on the inside of you that resonated with a man who's like, has dysfunctional patterns. And again, do yourself a favor, like don't, stalk him like I did. Back in the day, you may have read the article or watched the video where I was sitting in this guy's driveway in the middle of the night. Oh, not scary at all, or like, creepy or anything like that. But look, I was so obsessed and I was like so much running on this anxious attachment style that I needed an answer. You do yourself a favor, don't do that, right? Like hold your head high, step into self-dignity, self-respect, and actually realize that you dodged a bullet and now you're actually available for the right man. Look, this is saying that God only gives you as much as you can handle. So God sometimes also wants to prevent you from really serious heartbreak or abuse or anything further. So as you can see, Like really re-attracting a man into your life after he's disappearing oftentimes involves taking a hard look at yourself, but also like a compassionate look and also like an authentic look as well. And moving forward, that really means to you to really see, okay, so how am I an invitation for that? Right? And also see, like, is this something where I can align myself and I can re-attract him? Or is this something that's actually toxic and I want to learn how to let that go, let my attachment go, heal my nervous system so I can attract the right man into my life? Next, if you haven't yet, take my free love quiz and virtual coaching session to get a connected, loving, and committed relationship you desire fast without trust issues, loneliness, or of course attracting any more emotionally unavailable men by simply hopping over to getlovequiz.com, or you can also hop here in the description and comment section and grab the link right there. Hope this video helped you. Lots of love. I'll talk to you soon.